or bolsters, if you're going to use them, or maybe a pillow, and your blocks if you have them. So I'm just gonna, I think this is just gonna be us. So let's go ahead and we're gonna settle into a child's pose to start. And if you want, you can use a prop. So if you want to make it more supported, I've got my mom's dogs here this week, so I might have to lock them out because they're going to want to join. So I'm actually going to take my bolster between my knees. Lucy, move it. So that I have a little support as I fold forward. Okay, so you're welcome to use a bolster or or you can stack up your blankets. Clearly she's gonna be in class. And I'm gonna go close the door in just a minute, but go ahead and settle into your child's pose. Yeah, well, we're gonna start there. So if it feels okay, let your knees be kind of wide. We're going to really do a lot of hips today in our yin class. So we're starting with child's pose, knees wide, allowing the hips to start to open. So as you settle in for this first child's pose, really allow the weight of your upper body to rest either on the ground or on the prop beneath you. Feel the heaviness of your head supported by either the ground beneath you or a block or whatever it is your head is resting on. Just see if you can really start to connect to the ground holding your body. So maybe even take a little guided body scan as you settle in here, bringing your attention first to the top of your head and scanning downwards. And as your attention moves past each part of your body, just get a sense of softening, a sense of letting go. So in the yin practice, we slow down and we allow ourselves to be still or moving towards still in our postures. And as just a little reminder, while it's certainly okay to adjust or change the posture as you're holding it, I want you to think about kind of the idea that less is more in our yin practice. So connecting with the idea that we can create more space by just being here and doing less. So I've been reading this book called Deep Listening by Gillian Pransky. And one of the quotes that I pulled out to share today says, "Making space means allowing everything a little more room. To experience our own spaciousness, we don't have to be better and do more. We have to be here and do less." To experience our own spaciousness, we don't have to be better and do more. We have to be here and do less. So staying with our child's pose or supported child's pose for about 10 more breaths. And then really slowly, really mindfully, just start to ease yourself up from your child's pose. And we're just gonna slide right onto the belly from here. So coming all the way down. Just go ahead and rest your forehead for a moment on the back of your hand or your forearm. And just feel your body settle. Bring your attention to your breath. And just feel your body breathing in stillness. Draw your right knee out to the side. So we're moving towards like a half frog. Okay, so I'm bringing my right knee is in line with my right hip. And my right ankle is in line with my right knee. Okay, so around there. My left leg is just straight. And now I'm just going to allow gravity to kind of do the work here. And again, remind yourself that it doesn't have to be super sensational to pack a big punch. Okay, sometimes it can be really subtle, the opening. So feel the weight of your pelvis rest on the ground. Right leg is heavy. as is the left leg. Soften the belly and the chest and the shoulders. And feel the whole of your upper body resting on the ground. We're going to stay on this side about 10 more breaths. If you want, you could consider coming onto your elbows for the last 10 breaths. And that'll open up across the belly a little bit more. And it's also going to bring a little back bend into the posture. So if you come up onto your forearms and it doesn't feel good in your lower back, you can lower right back down. You can let your head hang even if your upper body is lifted. And just a couple more breaths. And then if you're up on your elbows, go ahead and lower down. Slide your right leg back in line with your left. And then just find any movements that feel kind of good here before going to the other side. So I like to windshield wiper my feet back and forth, finding a little bit of movement in my hips. And the right leg is straight, and we'll start by drawing the left knee out to the side. And just snuggling into that half frog on the other side. So starting with the upper body resting on the ground. We'll add in that variation when we're ready, but we'll start by just feeling that the upper body is heavy. And connecting to that idea of gravity working the pose. Feel that the ground is holding the weight of your body. Soften the shoulders and the belly. If you want to go ahead and lift the upper body, you can come up onto your elbows for these last couple breaths. Make sure to keep the lower belly connected to the ground. A few more breaths here. Soften the jaw. Maybe let the eyelids close. Send the breath into the lower back. And then gently lower your upper body if it's lifted. Slide your left leg back. Again, if it feels good, you can windshield wiper your feet back and forth. When you're ready, we're going to slide back into like a little seed pose. So this time, instead of the knees coming wide like child's pose, the thighs stay together. We're just going to fold forward for a minute or two here. And I like to rest my forehead on a block here. And you can just tuck your arms alongside your body, or I think it feels good to kind of slide my wrists between my heels and my ankle, and I give myself a little compression. If that doesn't feel right in your body, you can just, rest your arms or your hands wherever it feels natural. Okay, there's no right or wrong here. If you can, see if you can find something to rest your forehead on so that you can really feel a little compression in the forehead, like a little acupressure on that third eye. It can even be stacking your fists if you don't have a prop nearby. Really supporting the weight of your head. We'll take just about 5 more breaths here. And begin to lift up out of your seed And we're going to come to a seated position. Extend the legs out. It might feel good to give them a little shake here. And we're going to move into shoelace. So we'll start with the right knee resting on top. Okay. Left leg can stay straight, or you can bend the left leg also. Okay, so totally your choice. You decide what feels good in your body. And then the body can stay lifted, or it can start to lengthen forward. Okay, and really give yourself some time here. Set yourself up so that you have a place to rest your hands where you can support the weight of your upper body a little bit. So you could rest your hands on blocks, or if they comfortably rest on the ground, that's fine too. Your head can hang. And then see if you can really start to find balance in the weight of the hips, so that you're not leaning to the left or the right. That there's a feeling of being somewhat balanced. This is another posture where it's good to give yourself a little reminder that less can be more. I know it can be really tempting to try to go deeper in this posture. And there's nothing wrong with that. But just know that you don't have to. See if you can create more space in your hips by just really showing up where you're at. Breathing in, breathing out, and moving into stillness. Five more cycles of breath here. If your body is Leaning forward, go ahead and lift your spine back up. Lean back onto your hands, untangle your legs. And just allow the next few moments to be kind of intuitive. If you want to shake out the legs, maybe you want to do a little bit of the windshield wiper here. It may even feel good to kind of lift the hips a little bit. And before we go to the other side, let's take a butterfly pose. So soles of the feet together, knees open. And you can decide if it feels better for you to draw your heels in closer, or if you'd rather let them be a little bit further away. So drawing them in closer is going to target more inner thigh stretch. Bringing them out a little bit further, you're going to get a little bit more into the outer hips. So you can decide what feels best in your body. And if you want, you can give yourself a little support. Sometimes I like to put my block on my feet so that when I start to fold forward, eventually maybe I will rest my forehead on my block. So you can decide. Take your time. And just start to allow your upper body to lengthen forward. Again, remembering that we hold these postures for an extended period of time, which allows for us to move really slowly. So you don't have to get into the deepest version of your posture ever, really. But if you did, if you wanted to, you really don't need to get there anytime soon. You can take many, many breaths to get there. As you land in stillness, notice your breath moving in your body, creating more space. So as you breathe in, the body expands with breath. And as you exhale, the breath moves out. Expansion and contraction. And the softening in the shoulders and the neck. And we'll take just about 5 more breaths here. slowly lift your upper body back up. And take any time you need to intuitively bring yourself out of the posture. And when you're ready, we'll set up for shoelace on the other side. So now the left leg is going to cross on top. And again, you can keep the right leg extended and stay right here. Or if you like to bend the bottom leg, you can take that variation as well. And then really give yourself some time to settle in and allow this posture to just evolve. So this one takes a little more time. So first seeing if you can find balance between each side of your seat, which can be really challenging in this posture. And if you need to use props, use them. You know, a wedged blanket or pillow under one side of your seat can be really valuable. Close your eyes. Turn your attention inward. And begin to explore how you can soften. You can start to do less and experience more space, more opening. Maybe breathe a little deeper down. Feel the connection of your hands to whatever it is they're resting on. Feel the weight of your seat rooting down to the ground beneath you. We'll land here for about 5 more breaths. See if you can keep the tension out of the face. Slowly ease your way back up. Take your time as you lean back onto your hands. Untangle the legs. And do whatever it is you need to do to feel the blood flow all the way down to your feet. It might feel good to even rotate your ankles a little bit. And when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and come to hands and knees. And just give yourself permission to move through some cat-cows or any cat-cow variations that feel good in your body right now. And in the next couple of breaths, we're gonna head into downward facing dog just for a little bit, just to pedal out the feet and invite a little bit more back body release. So it might feel good to shift the hips from side to side, maybe even walk the feet out as wide as your mat. Move the hips side to side. Might feel good to come up on the toes, stretch the soles of your feet. Press down into your hands and drop your chest between your upper arms, stretching the upper back. And then take your time as you slowly start to travel your feet to your hands. And we'll land in a standing forward fold at the top of your mat. So my feet are at least hip width apart. My knees are soft. And I'm going to stack my blocks and place them right in front of my feet and rest my arms on them. Okay, so that may or may not be available to you. If it's not, you can put your hands on them or really put your hands or your arms on anything that you can kind of give yourself a little bit of support. So that this becomes a really nice supported inversion. Head just dangles from the neck. So really using the weight of your head to release neck tension. So you might even like move your head around a little bit. Find that sense of like unlocking tension at the base of your neck. Soften the shoulders and let them just kind of dangle. And then bring your attention to your feet and feel that they are just connected here. Soles of the feet pressing into the ground. Back of the legs lengthening, stretching. Hips stacked above the ankles. And then upper body is just able to drape forward. Maybe even imagining that the tension in your upper body is just draining out the top of the head. And as that tension drains out of the upper body, it creates more space again. So even without moving here, we can create more space in the body. Five more breaths here. And then without moving the lower body just yet, start to lift up onto your hands and find a little bit of length in your upper body just to level out the movement of fluid towards your head. And then I'm going to keep my hands on blocks here. And we're going to step, let's start with the left leg back and lower the left knee down. So I'm transitioning into like a lizard pose. So I'm going to walk my right foot out to the right. And you can choose to keep the upper body lifted, or you can lower it down. Okay, again, I'm using blocks, so you don't have to. It's going to depend on your flexibility, your comfortability here, where you want to go. So starting to find space in the front of your left hip and the outside of your right hip. Find a little more ease in your upper body. Breathe deep into the belly. And stay here for 5 more breaths. If you're down on your forearms, you can press back up onto your hands. And from here, just shift your hips back a little bit. Toe heel your right foot to the left side of your mat. I'm going to come right into half pigeon, or we call it sleeping swan in yin pose, or in yin yoga. And again, don't be shy about grabbing a prop. I'm going to place a folded blanket under my right hip so that it just levels out my hips a little bit. You can choose to stay lifted, or you can fold forward, coming onto your forearms. I like to catch my forehead with a block so that I'm taking tension out of the neck and the shoulders. So take the time to set yourself up with any props you need so that you can find more ease and more space in the body. So usually when we use our props to support our body, we can soften our grip. We can stop kind of holding on to our body so much, and it allows us to let go a little bit more. And so while sometimes people tend to think that the blocks are like a crutch, but they're actually a support that ends up actually letting us get a little deeper into the experience. Just a few more breaths here. Start to lift your upper body. And take your time. I'm gonna head back into downward facing dog because I think it feels good to kind of shake out the right leg. But if there's another release that's calling your name, feel free to do that. So just kind of coming back to neutral in whatever way that works for you. And then we're gonna head into that lizard pose with the left leg forward. Okay, so coming into that in any way that makes sense from wherever you're at. So left foot is wide, right shin is resting on the ground. And you can use hands on the ground or blocks. And then take your time as you find more space in the hips. Remembering again that we have time here for the posture to evolve. It doesn't have to get to the end of it right at the beginning. Feel free to make any adjustments that you need to align your body so that you can settle in. So opening up the front of the right hip, outside of the left hip. And really you can feel this in the outside and the inside of the left hip. As you really start to open up the hip region, see if you can find a way to soften the upper body a little bit more, find a little more release. See if you can find that sweet spot where you're settling into the pose in just the right place. Not too much, not too little, but just right. It really requires us to be present to find that sweet spot. So it's not just a physical practice, but it's truly, it's like a meditation in motion as we transition between our postures. Staying present with both the sensation in our bodies that arises and also the cycle of breath. Start to lift your upper body and shift the hips back just a little bit. And then make that transition of toe heeling the left foot across the mat. Left knee comes down for half pigeon or sleeping swan, if you like to call it that. Feel free to add your props. I'm going to grab my blanket. And then you can start to settle your upper body forward. Taking your time. And with each exhale, allowing your body to get a little bit heavier. Giving over a little bit more weight onto the ground. And we're going to stay here about 5 more breaths. And lift your head. We're going to make this easy. We're just going to roll onto the left hip and swing the right leg around. So from here, I'm just going to turn to the side so you can see me. I'm just going to roll onto my back. And we're going to head towards a supported bridge. So I'm going to use my block and I'm going to lift my hips and slide it right under the base of my spine. Again, you can use a folded blanket, you can use a pillow, whatever you have handy. And this should feel pretty nice after all of that forward folding to just allow the front of the body to have a little bit of space. Feel the head resting on the ground. Upper back connected to the ground. Feel the weight of your hips supported by the block beneath you or the prop. And you can choose to stay here, or if you think it might feel nice to extend the legs up to the ceiling, you can go ahead and take legs up the invisible wall. And see if you can place your feet at just the right place where it feels effortless to just balance your feet above your hips. And just feel any fluid that's accumulated in your feet or your legs. Just connect to that feeling of draining, of alleviating any retention of fluid by lifting the feet in the air. Take just a few more breaths here with the feet in the air. Soften the knees. Let the knees bend back towards your belly. And then bring the feet to the ground. Push your feet into the ground, lift the hips, remove the block. And then just gently draw the knees toward your chest. And it probably would feel pretty good to circle the knees here, massaging the lower back. And then reversing directions. And when you're ready, drop your knees over to the right. And we're just going to come into a spinal twist. So reclined spinal twist. Knees to the right, arms open like a T. And just one more breath here. Gently bring your knees back through center. And then when you're ready, you can set yourself up for your spinal twist on the other side. So knees drop over to the left. Arms are open like a T, or maybe they're like cactus arms, or whatever it is that releases your spine here. So just giving yourself about 5 deep breaths in your spinal twist. Begin to come back through center. And if there's anything else you need to do to prepare yourself for relaxation, now would be the time to do it. Otherwise, set yourself up for your final relaxation posture. So that can be traditional Shavasana or seated meditation or really any restorative posture. We'll stay here for just about a minute. And the next couple of breaths, begin to deepen your breath. And begin to bring just a little bit of movement back into your body. When you feel ready, you can start to make your way back to seated. We finish our class together, bringing our hands at our heart. And together we fold forward, sealing in your yoga practice. Namaste. Thanks for joining me.